Illinois football gets a huge shout out on the Pat McAfee Show. Or did they?
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. My name is Sunny Verma, your host here at Locked On Illini, where I continue to provide you with content each and every day. That's right, every single day right here on this channel, I'll give you a little update on what's going on with the orange and blue. So if you're a fan, if this is the first time you're here, make sure you hit the like button on this video. It's a fantastic show I have planned for you today. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a minute of whether it's breaking news or just general news, which is kind of what today's episode is going to be about. So on Tuesday afternoon, Pat McAfee had a guest, Heather Denich, I believe her name was, on the show, and they were kind of talking college football as they usually do. But then Pat asked her about, what could be a surprise team in this upcoming college football season. To which Heather replied, "I think that Illinois is going to be the Indiana of this year. I really like what Bret Bielema has coming back, and they've got a great schedule." Thank you so much, Heather, for giving Illinois some love on the Pat McAfee Show, which I know right now it's a very popular thing to hate Pat McAfee because he's essentially everywhere, whether it's football, wrestling, everywhere. But no matter what, it's a good thing when Illinois is going to be mentioned on his program because he is one of the most popular, one of the most loudest voices out there in the college football universe. So when Illinois is associated with that or being mentioned on those airwaves, it's a good thing overall. But Heather could not be any more wrong. And I think that's just kind of what's so frustrating. And the guy who's going to agree with me is Bret Bielema. And I'll tell you why in a second. Look, 2 seasons ago, Indiana won 3 games. No one predicted anything from them this past year. Okay, Curt Cignetti may have. He may have come in with, that mouth that he has of just very confident guy. Let's just put it that way. And sure, Indiana surprised the world. And look, if you're a listener of Locked On Illini, if you are one of my everydayers, you've heard me say this before, that I truly do wish that Indiana and Illinois got to play a game of football and settle it on the field, because I truly do think that Illinois was the better team than Indiana last season. Now, I can't say that with conviction because even though Indiana didn't beat anybody on their schedule, Illinois has that loss against Minnesota. And because of that, I can understand the folks giving Indiana the edge. But in my opinion, if the two played on a neutral field, I genuinely do feel confident that Illinois could have pulled it off. But the result of last season was Indiana was the media darling, the team, the Cinderella story that everyone was focused on, whereas Illinois, even though they were 10-3, did not get that adoration. And, selfishly, as an Illinois fan, as an Illinois reporter, of course, there's a little bit of jealousy there. But again, that doesn't make this comparison that Heather made make any sense. Illinois this year is coming off a season where they just won 10 games. They beat a South Carolina team in the Citrus Bowl, a South Carolina team that a lot of people said had a chance to be in the college football playoff. Some argued that they should have been in the college football playoff. There's no Cinderella story here when it comes to this Illinois football team next season. By all accounts, look, last week I released a story about how Illinois was in the top 10 of the post-spring preseason polls. Joe Klatt, just on Monday, I believe it was, also had Illinois at number 10. The Big Ten Huddle with my good friend JR, him and Zach both, I believe, had Illinois ranked number 8 in their post-spring preseason rankings. Illinois is exactly where they should be, and the ball knowers know that. But what's so obvious is that with this appearance that Heather had, is that Illinois still not where they need to be in the national spotlight, in the national landscape. Again, if you're an everydayer on the show, you know I defend Bret Bielema constantly when he tweets the things he does. I know other fan bases find it annoying. I know other fan bases just simply don't like it. But I've always had the idea that Bret's doing this for a reason. He has a purpose, and that he wants Illinois to be elevated. He doesn't want you to think Illinois and think about the past. Bret said these words himself, that he understands Illinois doesn't exactly have the most storied history. Well, maybe storied they do. We do have some of the best college football players in the history of the game. But we don't exactly have a long track record of success. Let me rephrase it that way. But Bret can't control that. The only things that Bret can control is today, now, and where this program is headed into the future. And that's why when they were arguing who should be in the CFP last year, Bret continued to mention Illinois' name to try to get us involved. Because again, he doesn't want people to think of Illinois and think of a team that's still a Cinderella story. I mean this respectfully. I don't know if Heather knows that Illinois won 10 games last year. And this is not a knock on her. This is just more of a me being frustrated and venting at what I understand is where Illinois is on this national landscape. It's not where they need to be. It's not where Bret is building us to be. Again, 10 wins last year, returning 16 to 18 of those starters from last year's team. For the most part, getting better everywhere. Being ranked in the top 10 in a lot of these national reporters' preseason rankings. But it's not enough. Illinois is going to have to do this not just 1 year, probably not even 2 years. We're going to have to prove ourselves year in and year out. And look, let's be honest. Let's be humble for a second. This is going to be a very tall task for Bret to pull off. Am I confident that he can do it? Absolutely. But this, again, I don't know how to say it. Like this appearance, air quotes, that Illinois made on the Pat McAfee Show. I'm glad that Illinois fans had the reaction that they had, because I don't mean this disrespectfully to Indiana, but comparing this Illinois team to last year's Indiana team is straight disrespectful. Indiana won 3 games 2 seasons ago. Illinois won 10. Look, last year was the Cinderella story. It's not my fault that other people weren't paying attention. This year, this Illinois squad is here to show that they belong, that no longer should they be considered a Disney story, a Cinderella story. This is just going to become the norm. Illinois is going to be a top 5, 6, 7 program in the Big Ten for the near future, at least as long as Bret Bielema is in control. And I'm telling you, the one guy who knows that he needs to get that narrative out there, and he knows that he needs to spin these stories as often as he can, is Bret Bielema, because of what we just saw on the Pat McAfee Show today. Let me know what you think. Did you guys catch that clip? Did it annoy you as much as it annoyed me? Or do you still think that, any publicity is positive publicity? And, the fact that being considered a Cinderella story is not a negative thing by any stretch of the imagination. Again, I'm not even saying that I necessarily think it is. I'm very curious on your guys' thoughts. Please let me know. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates will present themselves to choose from. Cost-effective growth instead of hiring full-time. Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale any business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with the top talent and grow your business today. And welcome back to Locked Online. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's my goal to hit 5,000 subs by the kickoff of the next college football season. It's going to be a little daunting, but you know what? I think we can do it, especially at the rate that this channel continues to grow. I've said it before. We are the fastest growing Illinois-based channel on all of you. And on the audio side, we're growing almost just as fast. Next up, I wanted to discuss an article which I thought was just fantastic. It was written by Colleen Kane from the Chicago Tribune, and it wasn't about the latest commit or a big-time transfer portal name. It's actually had to do with something probably even more important than that, more important for Illinois football and college football in general. You see, we're still waiting for the final approval on the $2.8 billion House versus NCAA settlement, and the holdup is roster limits. See, if this deal goes through as is, we could be looking at a dramatic reduction in the number of players allowed on D1 rosters, especially in football. And it's already impacting walk-ons, recruiting, and how Bret Bielema is planning for the future. So I want to take a second to just kind of break it down, what this means for Illinois football, what Bret's doing about it, and how we could reshape college sports at least as we know it. So this is about as basic as I can make it. The House settlement is a massive legal deal, $2.8 billion aimed at compensating current and former college athletes for missed NIL opportunities. In short, it's back pay and future revenue sharing. If approved, it could change the game. Athletes would be able to share in profits moving forward, especially in revenue generating sports like football and, of course, basketball. Sounds good, right? Well, there's one catch, and that's roster limits. To help schools afford these revenue sharing payments, the proposal would cap how many athletes can be on a team, even as it allows for more full scholarships. In football, that cap would be 105 players. Sounds reasonable, until you remember that most FBS programs, including Illinois, usually carry anywhere from 115 to 125 players, especially when you count walk-ons. So why is this a big deal for Illinois? At Illinois, Bret Bielema has built a roster that relies on walk-ons, and not just to fill out practices, but to compete, to develop, and to push scholarship guys. And this is not new to Illinois. This is a trait that Bret Bielema has had in all his previous stops as well. And Bret has addressed this directly at the end of spring camp. He said he has two different plans in place right now. Number one, a plan if the NCAA enforces the 105-player cap. And two, and another if the teams are allowed to keep carrying 115 to 120 players. That's not just smart. That's just the reality every coach, not just Bret Bielema, is dealing with right now. And I will give him credit. He said he's trying to be upfront and honest with every player about how, where they stand in each of these scenarios. It's the right way to handle this very complicated situation. Let's go ahead and talk about a real life example here. Nick True, a walk-on tight end from Jacobs High School. Nick said Bielema was upfront with him about the roster cap and what it might mean for the future. But at the time, Nick had already made his decision to enter the portal. He felt like he wasn't getting the opportunities he had earned, and the uncertainty around the roster limits only made things harder. And I believe it was just on Tuesday that Nick committed to Illinois State, hoping for a fresh opportunity. But Nick's not alone. There are walk-ons all across the country who are now being forced to choose between staying in limbo or chasing a clearer opportunity elsewhere. And let me just say this. These aren't throwaway kids. These are hardworking players who contribute in real ways, in practice, on special teams, on scout team, all to make the team better. And now, how many of them are being told, sorry, we just don't have room for you anymore? Not because they did something wrong, but because of a legal settlement designed to fix one injustice and accidentally creating another one. Look, Bret did not sugarcoat this. He literally said recruiting has become a, quote, a blank show. Between NIL, the transfer portal, and now this uncertainty around roster limits, coaches are trying to manage scholarship math with a calculator in one hand and a crystal ball in the other. And Bret brought up something really interesting. He's actually not against the idea of a uniform 105-man roster limit if it's applied equally across college football. His point is, if we're going to reduce roster sizes, fine. But let's make sure it's done in a way that doesn't hurt teams like Illinois who've developed walk-on programs into real depth. Because what you don't want is a system where the big brands are unaffected. They'll just stack their top 85 with blue chip recruits, while developmental programs like Illinois lose the glue guys who hold that locker room together. And it's not just football. Again, this is such a fantastic article. I'll link it in the description. She mentions, look what happened at Grand Canyon University. Their men's volleyball team, which had just made the NCAA semifinals, got cut entirely as part of their plan to opt into the house settlement. Players found out on a Zoom call. No warning, just gone. And this is the fear with non-revenue sports. In a new revenue sharing model, schools will prioritize football and basketball, and the rest could be on the chopping block. That's why this settlement is so complex. You're trying to right one wrong, underpaying athletes, but if it's not implemented carefully, you're going to end up erasing thousands of opportunities for athletes in other sports. And there are other ideas floating around to soften the blow. One is phasing in the 105-man roster limit over several years, not just ripping the Band-Aid off. That would allow current walk-ons and underclassmen to finish their careers without the fear of being cut overnight. Another idea? Practice squads. Just like in the NFL, a separate roster tier of developmental players who still train, still suit up, but don't count towards the 105. It's not perfect, but it could help preserve spots for guys like Nick True. And honestly, it reflects what these players are already doing. Showing up every day, grinding, helping make the team better, even if they're not starters. So what's the takeaway here for Illinois? Well, first of all, I trust Bret Bielema to manage this as well as anyone. The guy's already working two plans. He's communicating clearly. He's valuing relationship. But bigger picture, this is a reminder that college football is changing fast. And Illinois needs to keep adapting, and not just on the field, but off of it. And that means being transparent with players, investing in support staff to manage NIL and roster transitions, and honestly, fighting for the walk-ons, the non-revenue athletes, and the heart of what college football and sports in general used to be about. Because if this new era is really going to work, it has to be about more than just money. It has to still be about opportunity. And that's something that I think Illinois can still stand for if we handle it the right way. I'm curious on your guys' thoughts on this whole house settlement. Again, we're still waiting. No decision has been made yet. But when they do, I promise we'll discuss it right here on Locked On Illini. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you're watching Minnesota against Golden State and you think you have a good read on what's going on, why not back it up with the same game parlay? New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sporting betting partner of the NBA. And that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. And make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss a single thing on this channel. Look, I'm going to be doing a mailbag very soon. So if you can see on the bottom, you can send an email to talkillini@gmail.com with whatever questions you might have. Of course, Find me on your favorite social media, Locked On Illini or the Sunny V, or better yet, just join over 300 Illini fans in the Discord. That the link should be in the description of this video that you're watching. It's just Illini fans talking sports all day, every day. Thanks again for spending about 25 minutes with me today. I promise we're going to have nonstop content on this channel each and every day. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.